Electoral Commission boss, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, concludes his evidence in chief with a call on the court to strike out the petitioner's case. Tonight, we'll also hear from the petitioners and the respondents on the tango on that episode of who was to start cross-examination.
It seems as if the floodgates have been opened for him to tender registers for 11,842 polling stations. And also, with the greatest respect, we consider this quite unfair, especially as we have closed our case.
So tonight we'll be speaking to the petitioners and the respondents on that tango, on that episode of who was to start cross-examination. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion, Belacqua Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water, Blue Rose Limited, and as well as Lifebuoy Soap, still offers you 100% better germ protection. I'm Francis Aban. Strike out the case of the petitioners. That's the plea by Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, as he concluded his evidence in chief today at the proceedings. At the start of proceedings today, lawyer for the EC boss, James Kwasi sought to prove there was no overvoting when he referred to the pink sheet and register of the TB Kwabna Accra polling station in the Nsuta Kwanwoma constituency. The pink sheet of this polling station was used earlier in proceedings by the petitioners to prove overvoting in the cross-examination of Johnson Asiedu Nketia. Lawyers for the petitioners, lawyer for the petitioners, Philip Addison, raised an objection to the tendering of the register, arguing that the register was not relied upon in the case. Listen.
And I repeat that this is not the document that was used at the polling station during the election. It seems as if the floodgates have been opened for him to tender registers for 11,842 polling stations. Now we have a situation where we're being taken by surprise at each turn with documents which have not been disclosed by the second respondent. It has not been attached to its affidavit. Indeed, even the witness in the box has sworn to no affidavit, so there's no ambit to the evidence he's given. But also, with greatest respect, we consider this quite unfair, especially as we have closed our case.
I am not here to tender 11,000 documents. Mr. Asiedu Nketia was confronted with 5 exhibits by Mr. Addison, and I am rebutting those documents.
The issue is that the register they are seeking to tender is a new register prepared by them. It is not the register that was used at the polling station.
My Lord, I object to this remark.
To finish?
I am objecting to this remark, my Lord.
Can you allow me to finish my submission?
My Lord, I am objecting to the remark that he has made.
My Lord, I repeat what I said, that the register sought to be tendered is a new register prepared by the EC. This is not the register that was used at the polling station. This is not the register that was given to the political parties. At least this is not the register that was given.
You can challenge him in cross-examination, my Lord. I object.
He testified about a register, and in cross-examination you were able to demonstrate that that's not the register used for the election. Then the matter is before the court to determine the issue that arises from it. Now, if you prevent him from tendering it on the ground that that was not the register used for the election, you are taking the matter out of our hands.
Well, that would mean that we should
Anyway,
just allow every document.
but it's your case.
I'm saying that would mean that we should sit down and allow every document to come, only to challenge it.
The council, you have kept on repeating once a ruling on admissibility has been made, as though rulings are intended to operate from now to the end of the hearing. That is not it. Every opportunity is given to you to raise objections. The court rules on it. Perhaps you might think that the court heard, but that doesn't mean that you come back and say that it's as though the door is being opened for things which are not lawful to be. No, please let us do this in a manner bearing that the court is here to do justice.
Right, so after that discussion, an objection was raised and it was overruled by the court by an 8-1 decision. Then, concluding the examination in chief, the Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, made the point that the case brought before the Supreme Court by the petitioners should be thrown out since the merits has not been shown in the case.
For cross-examination. Or nobody has cross-examination.
My lords, maybe first and third respondents do not wish to cross-examine. If they do not wish to cross-examine, they should.
Dr. Afari-Gyan, so what are you asking the court to do with regard to the petitioner's reliefs?
What I would say that the release should not be granted because in the view of the commission, no firm basis has been shown to merit the grant of those reliefs.
So after these words were given out by the EC chairman, it was time naturally for cross-examination to follow after Dr. Afari-Gyan had ended his examination in chief. But there was a standoff by the legal teams of the petitioners, President Mahama and the NDC, as they argued over who was to begin cross-examination.
Time for cross-examination. Or nobody has cross-examination.
My lords, maybe first and third respondents do not wish to cross-examine. If they do not wish to cross-examine, they should.
We have to cross-examine a fellow defendant before the plaintiff dies. It will be completely unprecedented.
I may just respectfully add that counsel for the petitioners had no hesitation the previous time in beginning the cross-examination of, and we do not see anything that has changed in relation to the situation. The third respondent is an independent and separate party from the second respondent.
My lord, if you can't, I wish to point out, he quoted the evidence decree. I refer to the Evidence Act,
Yes.
section 71, which is different from what he quoted. In the Evidence Decree, there is subject to. In the Evidence Act, section 71, it says the court may treat the court. There is no subject to anything there.
Notwithstanding, the court ruled that the respondents start cross-examination, and the president's lawyer, Tony Lita, has since started cross-examination. We can now speak to the spokespersons for the NPP and NDC legal teams, Boabing Asamoah and Victor Adawdu, who have just joined me on the line. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on Top Story. So let me start with you, Mr. Boabing Asamoah. Your legal team was worried the documents tendered today by the EC places you at a disadvantage. Why is that?
Simply because it appears the EC is trying to set up an entirely new case behind our back. We have finished our case, we have closed our case, so there is no opportunity to examine and rebut any new positions that the EC will take. However, we find ourselves in a situation where the Electoral Commissioner has chosen to give evidence but has not deposed to any affidavit in our possession. Now, his evidence is also not following the affidavit of Sule Amadu, who deposed to their affidavit, which was meant to be their case. We also find that even as he is speaking in open court, he is trying to bring up loads of evidence in terms of documentation and in terms of material used for the election that has never been pleaded anywhere.
Okay, so the other point you made also today was that the register tendered was a new register. And how did you come to that determination?
Because the register is in contention. The petitioner's pleadings say that we do not know which register was used for this election. Now, we have a soft copy register given to us on which, for example, the FOs, face only IDs, where you don't use a thumbprint, are a little over 3,000. The Electoral Commission is insisting that its register has over 79,000 FOs, face only IDs. So which register was he using today? That register or the register it gave us? Now, there is also a register that was used on the day of the voting. So assuming that we all went through voting and that register has been used already, the Electoral Commission has had 6 months within which to bring that register from the field before the court or attach it to his affidavit. Today we are surprised with an entirely new register that has been freshly printed. Question, which register is it?
Right, and Mr. Dowd, you've been listening to the conversation. So there seems to be a misunderstanding earlier on about who should start cross-examination today. We know Mr. Leta has started, but why were you insisting earlier that the petitioner start the cross-examination?
Because that's the case. That's the legal position. The first time we did it was abnormal.
Well, that question essentially is from Mr. Daudu, Mr. Wabangasanwa.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Mr. Daudu, I'm asking, you were insisting that the petitioner starts cross-examination today. Why is that?
Thank you, Evans, and good evening to...
Well, this is actually Francis. Okay, move on.
Now, I think that the position of the law is what we were arguing, that when you go to court and there is evidence in chief, the people who have to do cross-examination, that is the position of the order. And the Evidence Act makes it clear, the order by which we have to come. That's why even one of the judges said that if the respondent or the defendant calls a witness, then that is when he has to start. So the order is clear, and that's why we're asking that they should give us the precedent or authority. And you could see that even the section that Mr. Addison quoted was not applied to the whole case. So it is because of the law, that's why we were saying. And the court in its own wisdom said that, yes, they have the power under Section 69 of the Evidence Act to control. And I think the court has spoken. It was the legal basis we were saying, and they started the arbitration in this case. When we finished, they cross-examined and we came in. So there has been a precedent to what is being done. And it is the same court that has the power. They can depart from their ruling, whether it is wrong or whether it is right, as even the court has said.
Right.
So it was that legal basis that we were talking about.
Okay. So, Mr. Wabangasanwa, quickly for me. Also, today you were of the view that Mr. Kwasi Adan had re-examined your cross-examination of Johnson Asiedu Nketia. What will have changed should you have asked to start cross-examination today?
Yeah, but that's the point we are making, and I'm surprised Mr. Daudu doesn't realize that the bench in a 9-0 decision vindicated our position. And the position is clear, irrespective of the rules on which the court based its decision, that where the parties have the same interest, they must go ahead and finish up, so that the other party with an adverse interest can deal with them. We found a ridiculous situation in the previous situation, which we were literally compelled into, where we, after our cross-examination, the second respondent, being the electoral commissioner, came in, and instead of cross-examining the first and third respondents' witnesses, Asiedu Nketia, he sought to re-examine him to correct the mistakes he had made during our cross-examination. And we persistently objected, and the court persistently upheld the objection.
Okay, so Mr. Wabangasanwa, quickly for me, I just want to find out, the EC says you have not shown merit for the reliefs you seek. How do you respond to that? That is a normal way to end examination in chief or cross-examination. But it was interesting that he said we have no firm basis. Question, we have a basis, but it is not firm. How firm is firm? He didn't say we have no basis. He said we have no firm basis. I'm quoting him. He said we have no firm basis for the relief we are seeking in our petition. So indeed, we have a basis, except that he thinks it's not firm. And his lack of firmness depends on the fact that today the electoral commissioner is telling us that signatures don't matter. Does it mean he has thrown away the constitution? That a presiding officer can fill the forms, declare the results, and be too tired to sign his signature to what he has done for the day? Okay. So, Mr. Daudu, final word to you this evening on Top Story. I just want to find out from you. The EC says the petitioners do not have a firm basis for the case that they've brought before the Supreme Court. Do you agree with this assessment?
I agree, because he says that the petitioner has not demonstrated that they have evidence which is cogent that has been advanced before the court. And he has been there, he has seen it all, and he thinks that they have not discharged that burden. So their case should be dismissed. I think it's as simple as that. If he agreed that if there are even irregularities, it is not substantial, it does not go to the root of the matter, and that is all that he's asking the court to uphold their declaration that they made.
Right. Mr. Victor Kujoga Daudu, spokesperson for the NDC legal team, and also Mr. Yabuabing Asamoah, who's spokesperson for the petitions legal team, have been speaking to us here on Top Story. That's it for Top Story today. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion, Belacqua Mineral Water, the New Generation Mineral Water, as well as Blue Rose Limited, Star Life Assurance, as well as myjoyonline.com.